this one going to end?
Oh, my goodness! What a play!
How are they going to set it up? How are they going to work it?
What a story!
Somehow.
The most amazing, sensational, dramatic.
Maybe. Yes, sir!
That's it! They've done it!
But isn't it great to be in that position?
Psychologically and physically now he's in control.
If you have a lump in your throat, you're only human.
The Glad Flipper fit!
You're right down to the guts of it right here, friends. Is this really happening, Bill?
A dramatic finish, and here is the wire!
Great sports moments of the 80s. What does it make you think of? What great memories does it stir? I'm Al Michaels, and I'm about to take you on a little video odyssey, traveling back through the past 10 years and stopping along the way to revel in some of those special moments. Now, you probably have at least one vivid memory in which a sporting event is inextricably bound. Where were you? Who were you with when it happened? Well, we're going to try to rekindle some of those memories. You know, there's a marvelous writer by the name of Roger Angell who I think gets it just right. Belonging and caring is what our games are all about, he writes. This is what we come for. Naivete, the infantile and ignoble joy that sends a grown man or a woman to dancing and shouting with joy in the middle of the night over the haphazard flight of a distant ball. Seems a small price to pay for such a gift. Well, with all of that in mind, we've assembled a wonderful collection of memories here. And we've even chosen our top 10 moments of the decade. Now, we may have left out some of your favorites, and you probably won't agree with all of our choices, but let's face it, that's part of the fun of it. Now, we're going to save the best for last, but let's get started with great sports moment number 10. The 1984 Orange Bowl, Nebraska against Miami with the national championship at stake. It seemed like just a formality, really, for an unbeaten Nebraska team that had averaged 52 points a game. Led by Heisman Trophy winner Mike Rozier, the Cornhuskers had won their third straight Big 8 title and were 11-point favorites over the hometown Hurricanes. Surely freshman Bernie Kosar would be no match for this juggernaut. But shockingly, at the end of the first quarter, Miami led 17-0. The bewildered Cornhuskers countered with the old fumble-rooski. Guard Dean Steinkuhler picked up an intentional fumble and lumbered 19 yards for the score. Still, Miami led by a touchdown late in the game. And when an injury ended Mike Rozier's college career unceremoniously, the Huskers had to go to a rusty air attack. Irving Fryer dropped a sure TD. And when Turner Gill had the ball batted away, Nebraska was down to its last gasp. A 4th and 8 with less than a minute left.
Look at this play, Jeff Smith.
Rozier's replacement, Jeff Smith, brought Nebraska to within 1 point of a national title.
Touchdown now. It's a 31-30 game. And what does
What are they
Nebraska
doing?
do?
I have not seen the kicker come on the field, and I don't think he's coming on the field. He's decided to go for 2 and take his shot and win, and I commend him for it.
This is for the national championship for Nebraska. Incomplete.
To the delight of most of the 73,000 in the Orange Bowl, Ken Calhoun's deflection meant a first-ever national title for Miami. For Nebraska, it was small consolation to be just a fingertip away from perfection. Still, both Nebraska and Miami were a cut above in the 80s. Others who could make that claim included the '85 Chicago Bears. Led by linebacker Mike Singletary, the Bears left an indelible mark. After 2 shutouts in the playoffs, the Bears defense left it up to Jim McMahon in Super Bowl 20 against New England. With a little help from 308-pound running back William the Refrigerator Perry, the Bears rolled over the Patriots 46-10 for Chicago's first title since '63. For Walter Payton, it was extra special because just a year earlier, he'd become pro football's all-time leading rusher, and now sweetness had a ring to go into the trophy case. So what could compete with passing Jim Brown? How about passing Ty Cobb? Who else but Pete Rose?
From Shaw, left center. There it is. Rose has eclipsed Cobb. That's number 4,192.
The Great One, he's called, and why not? You might argue that Wayne Gretzky dominated his sport more than any other athlete of the decade. In his first 10 seasons, he was voted MVP 9 times and came within striking distance of Gordie Howe's all-time scoring record in nearly 1,000 less games. And after being traded to the Kings, Gretzky even made hockey fashionable in Los Angeles. Some say it's lonely at the top, but Greta Weitz never seemed to mind. Admittedly, she had plenty of company in the New York City Marathon. In fact, more than 20,000 runners. But in the end, Greta Weitz always seemed to be alone, winning the event 9 times in 10 years.
Hey!
A fellow like Edwin Moses must have gotten to asking himself, what would it be like to lose? After all, Moses won 122 straight races, a streak that lasted 9 years, 9 months, and 9 days. For Carl Lewis, winning meant going where only one man had ever gone before. In the '84 Olympics, Lewis equaled the feats of Jesse Owens, winning 4 gold medals. Then in '88, Lewis increased his total to 6 golds in all. For our choice of 9th grade moment, we go now to the Serenity of Augusta National, where Greg Norman had to sink a 20-footer on the 18th green to win the '87 Masters.
Oh my gosh, I don't believe it. That you cannot hit a putt any better than that and not have it go in.
Norman said later, "I still don't know how the putt stayed out." But off he went to the 10th hole for a 3-way playoff with Larry Mize and Seve Ballesteros. The 3 golfers had played the tournament in 3 under par, and now on the first playoff hole, Norman and Mize made pars while Ballesteros missed his putt to save par. And then there were 2. Greg Norman, nicknamed the Shark, and the hometown boy, 28-year-old Larry Mize. Playing Augusta's famed Amen Corner, Mize hit a 5-iron approach.
It'll miss the green right, Steve.
Mize's shot landed 140 feet from the hole, and with Norman safely on the fringe, 30 feet from the cup, the best Larry Mize could hope for was to get up and down in 2 and possibly take the playoff to another hole.
How's that look?
It was the stuff of dreams, this Larry Mize saga. The first Augusta native ever to win the Masters. His first job was working the scoreboard at the Masters, and now 14 years later, Jack Nicklaus was putting the green jacket on Larry Hogan Mize. So what was a middle-aged Jack Nicklaus doing there? Well, the Golden Bear set the tone for a distinguished group of Grand Masters in the 80s. While folks were talking about his retirement, 46-year-old Jack Nicklaus took one more curtain call in front of Augusta's adoring masses.
This is for sole possession of the lead. Maybe. Yes, sir!
This beloved golden oldie shot a 30 on the final 9 to win his 6th Masters and a bear hug from a caddy named Nicklaus. The 80s was a glorious decade for the Grand Masters of golf, such as Chichi Rodriguez, the game's consummate showman. There was plenty to crow about as the Seniors Tour gave new life to the over 50 set. Horse racing's grand old man, Willie Shoemaker, was in his 5th decade of racing and became the oldest jockey to win the Kentucky Derby. With more than 8,800 career victories, he became an international symbol of horse racing excellence. One of Shoe's favorite mounts was John Henry, another splendid old-timer. Dubbed America's Horse, John Henry won Horse of the Year honors as a 9-year-old after being sold as a yearling for a paltry $1,100.
John Henry!
Bad boy turned folk hero was the story of Jimmy Connors, who enjoyed his turn as fan favorite, winning both Wimbledon and the U.S. Open in '82, the same year he turned 30. Also turning 30-something was Chris Evert, but not before winning 9 Grand Slam events in the 80s and securing her spot as America's beloved queen of tennis. Turning 40-something didn't seem to faze Nolan Ryan, who continued to rewrite the record book all decade long.
To Baker, and a ground ball to third. He has got it, Art. How? He got it! Nolan Ryan! No-hitter number 5.
Who would have dreamed that this hard-throwing, soft-spoken Texan, who first came up with the Mets in '66, would still be setting big league records 23 years later? To put Ryan's career in some perspective, Dwight Gooden, who became the youngest 20-game winner in Major League history, was 1 year old when Ryan broke into the big leagues. An interesting development, I think, that reflected baseball's ever-growing place in our national psyche was the surprising number of Hollywood movies dealing with baseball in the 80s. Some of them were very good, and they were at their best when they conjured up images of real-life characters. There were several times in the 80s when life imitated art. For instance, the 1988 Los Angeles Dodgers, a team that no one thought could possibly win the pennant outside of the eternal optimist Tommy Lasorda. It was a preposterous fairy tale, really, that just happened to come true. Our choice for number 8, the '88 World Series. Kirk Gibson was the National League MVP in '88, but in the Dodgers' playoff win over the Mets, he re-injured his hamstring and would not be in the lineup for the World Series opener against Oakland. But sometimes a good script must suspend reality. And in the bottom of the ninth of Game 1, with 2 out, 1 on, and the Dodgers down by a run, the hobbled Warrior appeared to pinch hit. 3 straight foul balls made it clear Gibson was in pain and overmatched by Oakland's Dennis Eckersley, the premier relief pitcher in baseball.
A big 3-2 pitch coming here from Eckersley. Gibson swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable! A home run for Gibson. And the Dodgers have won the game 5-4. I don't believe what I just saw.
Gibson would not bat again in the series, but there'd be no need. His one monumental swing was enough to catapult the Dodgers to a stunning 5-game victory in a World Series that could have only been written in Hollywood. If the Dodgers could do it, there was no telling who might triumph against all odds. On the high seas, where the World Series is hardly a bother, one of history's longest winning streaks was finally snapped. In '83, the challenger Australia 2 brought the America's Cup down under for the first time in 132 years. Dennis Conner, the American skipper, led his Stars and Stripes back in '87. As challengers now, the American 12-meter completed a 4-race sweep, and the Cup came back to its long-standing home. In another dramatic reversal, there was Danny Sullivan, who survived a 360-degree spin in the '85 Indy 500. Sullivan came back to overtake Mario Andretti, giving a 5th Indy title to car owner Roger Penske and a little sizzle to staid old Indy. Even on 2 wheels, Greg LeMond reached speeds of 66 miles an hour in the '86 Tour de France, the world's most prestigious bike race. When LeMond donned the coveted yellow jersey in the 23-day affair, he became the man to beat, and some 20 million spectators lined the 2,500-mile course to see if LeMond could cycle his way into history. On the Champs-Élysées, LeMond held on to become the first American ever to win the Tour de France. Fighting long odds of a different sort, Jim Abbott pitched his way to the big leagues despite being born without a right hand. Abbott earned a spot in the Angels rotation in '89 and became baseball's most inspirational rookie. Rollie Massimino's Villanova Wildcats seemed to relish the underdog role, shooting a phenomenal 79% from the field in the '85 NCAA Finals. The Cats pulled off an upset of epic proportions, dethroning a Georgetown team considered by some college basketball's best ever. 3 years earlier, the Hoyas made their first Final Four appearance in nearly 4 decades in front of more than 61,000 in the Superdome. This time it was North Carolina trailing by 1, trying to slay the Giants of Georgetown.
A shot blocker like Ewing takes so much time. Doherty to Black. The time, 18. Shot, Jordan. Michael Jordan, 14 seconds. Brown. Look for Sleepy Floyd. Oh, he threw it to the wrong man. He threw it to Worthy. It's over. It's over. North Carolina has won the 1982 NCAA championship.
The Hoyas would be back, but for Carolina coach Dean Smith, who'd lost in 6 previous trips to the Final Four, nothing could be finer. While the Final Four featured one cliffhanger after another, our choice for number 7 is the '83 final, featuring Phi Slamma Jamma, a fraternity of soaring Houston Cougars. Under coach Guy Lewis, Houston was ranked number 1 and a prohibitive favorite. But their opponents, Jim Valvano's scrappy North Carolina State Wolfpack, forgot to read the press clippings. Houston went on a 15-2 tear at the start of the second half and built a comfortable lead behind tournament MVP Akeem Olajuwon. But inexplicably, the Cougars slowed down the pace and State clawed its way back. Then, incredibly, after a missed Houston free throw, the Wolfpack got the ball back with a chance to win it.
Center line. Now long in the left corner. Back down to Bailey on the left sideline. Gannon in the middle. There's spread in 4 corners. Back to Wittenberg. 14, 13. Now to Gannon. Gannon back to low. 10 seconds. Now Sidney goes to Bailey in the corner. 5 seconds left to Wittenberg. Wittenberg tries about a 30-footer. No good. Step back. Lorenzo Jones. State. Lorenzo Jones slams it in. A missed shot from 35 feet. Lorenzo Jones grabbed it. Stuffed it back in. The Cinderella team has done it. The glass slipper fits. The Wolfpack has won the national championship.
There's a story behind Jim Valvano's mad dash around the court looking for someone to hug. Valvano and senior Derek Wittenberg had made a tradition of the post-game hug since the ACC tournament that year, when Wittenberg had returned from a serious injury. So before the final game, Valvano was figuring that if State won, how great would it be to hug his captain in front of millions of people? Only trouble was, when the time came, Wittenberg was off hugging his teammates, and Valvano had to settle for his athletic director. Perhaps more than any major sporting event of the decade, the Final Four consistently went down to the wire. 5 of the 10 finals were decided by 2 points or less, and it was just this sort of drama that led Yogi Berra to utter those immortal words, "It ain't over till it's over." But my absolute favorite example of Yogi's sage remark came in the 1982 Stanford-Cal football game, which finished in such bizarre fashion that it inspired a little poem that went, "It was Moan, Rogers, Garner, Rogers, Ford, Moan, and the only thing that slowed them was Tyrell on trombone." Stanford kicked off to Cal, leading by 1 point with 4 seconds left.
With it, and he does. Ball comes loose, and the Bears have to get out of bounds. Rogers along the sideline, another one. They're still in deep trouble in midfield. They tried to do a couple of... The ball is still loose as they get it to Rogers. They give it back now to the 30. They're down to the 20. Oh, the band is out on the field. He's going to go in the end zone. He's going to go in the end zone. The Bears have won. The Bears have won. Oh, my God.
"Get it close," his caddy told him. "I'm gonna make it," the golfer replied. And with that, Tom Watson claimed the 1982 U.S. Open at Pebble Beach. "I told you so" never tasted quite so sweet as when Watson's remarkable 71st hole birdie vaulted him past Jack Nicklaus, the leader in the clubhouse. Watson's title was his first in the Open and ended talk of a jinx. The New York Islanders began the decade with a reputation as a team that always folded, so to silence their critics, they simply won 4 Stanley Cups in a row. The reign began in 1980 in dramatic fashion. Sudden death overtime against the Flyers.
To Tonelli. Here's Tonelli with Nystrom. The pass to Nystrom is gone! Oh, Nystrom! And the New York Islanders
In an '89 All-Star race in Charlotte, an upstart driver named Rusty Wallace proved he's not afraid to trade some paint. Darrell Waltrip's final lap spin meant a win for Wallace in one of the most talked about stock car finishes in years. The Phillies were down by a run in the ninth, 2 on, 2 out. A good time to make some history for Mike Schmidt.
Aguilar drive! There it is! Number 500! The career 500th home run for Michael Jack Schmidt!
In a game that seemed it might last forever, San Diego's Dan Fouts connected with Kellen Winslow 13 times and sent a titanic 1982 playoff struggle with Miami into sudden death overtime. As the heroic Winslow staggered to the sidelines, Ralph Benershka kicked a 29-yard field goal 14 minutes into overtime to win it for the Chargers and ease Winslow's